Welcome to another edition of Boxing During Dinner, and David, we're back here in our home, Alex's apartment.
Well, I mean, our original home was yours, but really this is...
Right, but this is where the show grew.
Yep.
This is where many beautiful women waltz right through
this
through
spot
here.
right here is a very empty, lonely
that spot right
now.
there where Alex will pander over there right now.
He wants to.
Yeah.
Womp, womp, womp. Maybe one day.
One day. But next week we'll be back at Randazzo's. But David, this weekend is a weekend that I've been looking forward to.
Yeah.
For a while.
Something you can really sink your teeth into, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, really bite into.
Yeah, I had a root canal today, so David's making jokes about that. That tooth right there.
Yeah. This is
right
way
there.
more than you ever wanted to see of us. But Armando's looking
good. Looking great, feeling great, and this weekend, David, it's the first big weekend of boxing of the new year. HBO with a triple header, and that doesn't happen very often, but a triple header, and we're going to break down each fight. We could start from the top, which is the Orlando Salido, at least our top.
Yeah, I'm with that, because that's not the main event.
Orlando Salido and Mikey Garcia. That's a fight that once it was signed, I mean, it was supposed to happen a few months back, and when they finally got the names on the contracts, and Salido was healthy once again, this is gonna be a war. I mean, you have the crafty veteran Salido, the champion, who came out of nowhere to knock out Juan Manuel Lopez twice in his own backyard. And he's fighting Mikey Garcia, a kid that from very early in his career, many people looked at and said, this kid's gonna be a world champion one day. What do you think about that fight?
Well, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I still, my leanings are toward Garcia because I believe that the pure boxer and better defensive fighter is him. But Orlando Salido, again, has found reasons to lose fights that he shouldn't have, but win fights that he also shouldn't have. The Lopez fights are perfect examples. He's proven that he can handle big punchers. Lopez is probably still one of the hardest hitters at featherweight, but he walked through everything that Lopez threw, with the exception of the one knockdown in round 9 of their second fight before, he ultimately just walked through Lopez and knocked him out in round 10. So he's got a chin. If Garcia plans on knocking him out, I don't think that that's going to be a good game plan. But Salido manages to find a way. He's slick enough that this fight is really interesting, not just on paper, but also in the ring. Mikey Garcia, I don't think has been tested up to this point by somebody who's going to be as relentless and pressure-oriented as Salido is. And in that regard, I think that's what makes this really interesting, is both of these guys are rising to a new level in this fight. Garcia's, the one who hasn't had the type of experience at this level that Salido has, and that's the big question mark going in. Is this kid, I guess, really prepared to go in with a man who's been in with just about everybody? But
also, he's an older man who's been in many wars. He has he's not one of these guys that comes in with the pretty record with 1 or 2 losses. I mean, he's probably lost in the double digits,
10
I
or
think.
11.
And but like you said, he fought Gamboa as well, a fight which he lost, but he took Gamboa's best shots. But I think Garcia's youth, his talent, is going to prevail in this fight. And plus, in the last couple of years, it looks like there's been little stopping Robert Garcia as trainer.
Yes.
He has Nonito Donaire, Marcos Maidana.
He's made Maidana look like a boxer in the past
Brandon
few fights.
Rios.
Yeah.
And what I like about Robert Garcia, who's Mikey Garcia's brother as well, is like he told us one day, if he sees one of his fighters has he has that he has that advantage in some part of his game, he's not gonna try to take that away because it's a deficiency. Case in point, Brandon Rios. When we asked him, how do you make him into a better boxer? And he's like, I don't.
He lets him fight his style.
I let him fight his style. We make adjustments so he could succeed with that style, which we've seen in the past that he can. Mikey Garcia is a very talented fighter, comes with a fighter's pedigree, and sometimes that bloodline means a lot more than training and natural talent. At times, not all the time. But I think Mikey Garcia will pull it out in this fight. It should be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park. He's going to take some shots. It's going to be the toughest fight of his career by far. I think at the end he'll win, and it might be one of those fights that a rematch may occur because it's such a good fight.
Now I know I said that Salido is going to take Garcia into deeper waters. But I'm actually going to argue to say that I think Garcia has an opportunity to really showcase why he's unique. I think Garcia absolutely has power that cannot be messed with at 126, and the reason that he is not known necessarily as the type of puncher as others is because he's a Mexican boxer, which is just an ironic thing to say out loud anyway.
Right.
But make no mistake, if he throws, he can hurt people. I wonder if this is going to be his opportunity to where he really brings it all together on that one night and possibly outclasses Salido.
The main event that night, David, you know, because this is a fight that I'm looking forward to the most, the Garcia-Salido fight. But I'm also looking forward to the Genaddy Golovkin-Gabriel Rosado fight. Golovkin came out of nowhere, at least in U.S., you know, for the U.S. fans. He was showcased on HBO finally after years of doing it overseas, and he beats the crap out of this Proxa kid on national television. And we were talking about something very interesting because we were looking at the records. Golovkin seems to have the softer resume of the two. Yet I think he's gonna walk through Rosado, and I'll tell you why. And that last fight, sometimes you gotta look at it fight by fight. He looks so dominant in that fight, and I remember when it happened, we couldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
He walked through Proska or whatever his name is, so easy. I mean, he hit Proska's face after the fight, or Proxa.
The P guy.
The P guy. His face looked like Lena Dunham from the HBO show Girls. That girl's disgusting.
Oh, that was a great reference.
If you guys watched the Golden Globes last night, I haven't gotten nauseous in a long time watching somebody on TV like an actress or something.
As Armando says,
and she made me nauseous.
Don't look at a picture of Lena Dunham before you have lunch.
Or after, because just thinking of it. But anyway, the fashion in which he won that fight trumps resume or no resume. You know, you could wipe that slate clean. I mean, the guy, he looked like he wasn't even putting his full effort, and he beat the guy's ass.
I would argue, or I would venture to say that nobody has been fallen in love with more collectively by the boxing world than Genaddy Golovkin has since he came stateside. I mean, people are just gushing over this guy, saying that he is the only real opponent out there for Sergio Martinez, and we've seen him once in the United States.
Right.
We did talk about his record, and Proxa is literally the most decorated name on Golovkin's resume, which is not saying much. Gabriel Rosado does have the more impressive wins, and especially as of late. I mean, he beat Sekou Powell, knocked out Kasim Uma, he knocked out... who else? I'm going to pull this up real quick before I forget. Knocked out Jesus Soto Carras. So these are not pushover type of guys. Rosado's on a hot streak right now. Got a little bit of lettuce right there. Sure. Still there.
So there.
Bottom of his lip. Yeah.
We'll just let it.
Why not make people feel uncomfortable right here on camera?
Who cares?
But yeah, I'm with you. I think that Rosado is stepping up in a big way.
Are you still there?
No, you're good.
All right.
Stepping up in a big way in class when he fights Golovkin. I mean, this guy's got power in both hands. He seems to have a pretty quality chin. Granted, it hasn't really been tested yet. I don't know if Rosado has the type of power to test it, but maybe he does.
Right, and Rosado's a good fighter.
Yeah, but
I don't think he's a great fighter. And Golovkin looks like one of these guys that you need a great fighter to beat. Now, some people may argue, you know, Golovkin, because of his that assassin demeanor he has in the ring, and his look as well. You know, if you look at the facial features, he looks a lot like Costa Tszyu, and he'll remind a lot of people about Costa Tszyu. People, you know, go back and say, hey, Armando, but Vince Phillips knocked out Costa Tszyu. Vince Phillips wasn't a great fighter. Vince Phillips was a great fighter. He just was a drug addict. The guy had a drug problem for years. I mean, what could have been a Vincent Phillips if he was clean outside the ring? Who knows? But, you know, he came out and knocked out Costa Tszyu. But Costa Tszyu, after that, went on to have a great second half of his career as well. Rosado, I don't think has what it takes to beat Golovkin. He's a good fighter, but, you know, like you said, he's beaten all these guys. He also lost to Pu Enos and to Alfredo Angulo by knockout.
Yeah.
I'd venture to say that Golovkin hits harder than both those guys. So
I think that's going to be his undoing. He's also, let's not forget, he's moving up in weight from 154 to 160. Knocked out in 2 rounds by Alfredo Angulo. Which,
no catch weight.
Let's not take exactly. Let's not take away from the fact that Angulo is a hell of a puncher anyway. But Golovkin may even punch harder than Angulo, and he's moving up in weight. So, you know, it's not to say that Rosado is not equipped to to put his best effort forward. But I think this is absolutely a coronation fight for Golovkin, and I expect it to play out that way.
We have some more to talk about, so we'll go quick through the third fight. Rocky Martinez against Juan Carlos Burgos. Who do you like in that fight?
I cannot get out of my mind the Martinez-Beltran fight from the undercard of Sergio Martinez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in September. Have been a big Martinez fan ever since seeing that one, and I've got a hard time picking against him. Although Burgos is no pushover, I've got to say this is a Martinez fight.
I like Martinez as well in that fight, but you know no matter what, no matter if there's a triple header, quadruple header, quintuple header, sextuple header, I don't know, whatever it's called. People will always talk about Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Juan Manuel Marquez, the bigger names in the sport. Today there was an article on Boxing Scene talking about Juan Manuel Marquez and his possible next fight in April. They're throwing Jesse Vargas' name, and you know Jesse Vargas is a nice young fighter who they're still developing. You know, he still hasn't gotten over that hump. He's he looks like he might be one of those good fighters that'll just stay as a good fighter. He'll never hit that next level.
We'll think about.
If you're gonna set up Juan Manuel Marquez in a stepping stone fight towards a fifth fight with Pacquiao, what do they call it nowadays?
I don't know, the fifth dance.
No, but not a setup fight, a tune-up.
Yeah, tune-up.
There you go. Why not Jesse Vargas? He's a young kid who fights under the Top Rank, or is he with Top Rank?
No, interestingly enough, he's a Floyd Mayweather guy who ended up going Top Rank. So yes, he is
Jesse Vargas is with Top Rank now, and you know, why not give the kid the opportunity? He's not gonna win the fight. But people know who he is, and he'll make some decent money along the way.
Yeah, well, on the flip side of this, so Armando's talked about the Marquez side. Manny Pacquiao is the rumored other figure of this. They're talking about a split site doubleheader that would have Marquez fighting what it seems to be Jose Cito Lopez, and Pacquiao taking on Vyacheslav Sinchenko, who just most recently knocked out Ricky Hatton. So that's, you know, here's the thing. I'm not a fan of either of these guys fighting on. And
me neither.
Whatever it is that happens on April 13th or April 20th is inconsequential, because, and I'm going to read something from one of our fans, Casper Holberg Madsen, who I almost always agree with, said, "I'll tune in for both fights. I haven't seen that many signs of either guy really fading too much, and I see no reason why Marquez and Pacquiao shouldn't be able to deliver a couple more competitive scraps before a rematch." And he has no interest in another rematch, however. Sorry, Casper, I disagree 100% with both of those. I think that after that last fight, Manny Pacquiao, had he been knocked out at the age of 25 or something like that, fine. Amir Khan still has a chance to come back. You're on the tail end of your career and you get knocked out that way, I think you should call it. Marquez wins the most incredible type of victories you can possibly win. And we talked about this before. You put the cornerstone on your career with an emphatic knockout of your biggest opponent, and you're 39 years old, leave. The only fight, to disagree with Casper again, that I think would be of any interest to people is to see those guys rematch again.
Right, and he mentions Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins, you know, he could be 68 years old and still fighting.
He probably will.
But Bernard Hopkins was never knocked out the way Manny Pacquiao was against Juan Manuel Marquez. And you know, Casper, you know, he's dating Jennifer Lopez. God bless him for that.
Yeah.
Is that the same guy?
No, unfortunately, it's not.
Not the same Casper. But you know, I disagree with him as well. If they're gonna fight anybody, have them fight each other. I don't even want to see Manny Pacquiao against Floyd Mayweather anymore.
No, I mean, these guys are 33 and 39. What is the point of a tune-up? It's not going to show anything. These guys are only going to do themselves more harm. I mean, you're literally looking at two examples of why punching bags, you know.
And before we go, something we didn't touch upon last week, which was, you know, lingering in the news for the last 2 weeks. How ridiculous was that Manny Pacquiao story that some doctor in the Philippines watched him on TV and thought he had Parkinson's? For God's sakes, man, that's like if I start watching TV and I'm like, hey, you know, that guy looks like he has Alzheimer's, or, you know,
right.
Come on, man.
Or hey, it looks like Armando's got a fake tooth in the front of his mouth.
But that would be right.
Right, but what would they know just by looking? You know what I mean? I'm with that too. I think that's, you know, there's no business for it, and especially
it's ridiculous
because of the fact that brain injuries are such a serious issue, especially now with the revelation of Junior Seau, who did have brain issues that were a result of his playing career, imagine how much worse it is for boxers. I think that Pacquiao and Marquez are already in danger of having, brain issues down the line because of the amount of fights that they've had. I don't want to see either of these guys fight again.
Even though I think the NFL is a tougher and more dangerous sport than boxing, but that's a topic for another day. But keep writing us, Casper. And if Jennifer Lopez could drop in a line, that'd be great.
Yeah, talk to her.
Don't watch that show Girls with Leah Dunham because you'll vomit. Homeland won many awards, which I'm happy about.
Armando
I
likes
still
his
think
show.
Breaking Bad is the best show, but Homeland is pretty freaking good too.
Claire Danes is crazy.
And
though.
by the way, we're eating Moe's.
Yeah.
$5 burrito Mondays.
Welcome to Moe's.
Welcome to Moe's. So we'll see you next week. We'll be back at Rondazzo's.
Can't wait.
And we'll see if we line up a couple of guests.
Bring it
and a couple of good-looking women.